The last message wasn't a distress call. It was a warning. They called it the Black Ribbon, a stretch of shattered star systems where even light seemed to hesitate. No ship, human or alien, had crossed it in over a decade. No signals, no beacons, just silence and wreckage drifting through dead gravity. Until the Sparrow's wake went in. Commander Alarican had seen death before. As a child, she watched Earth burn from the orbit of Aegis Refuge, a civilian cradle station that had held its breath for too long. She remembered her mother's trembling hand, pointing at the livid blue oceans boiling under kinetic strikes. Humanity's home wasn't lost. In war, it was erased. Now, 30 years later, she stood on the command deck of a ship barely held together by scavenged alloys and dying hope. The Sparrow's wake was a retrofitted stealth cruiser, outdated, outgunned, and barely warp-capable. But it was hers, and her mission was suicide. 70 seconds to breach, said Dr. Renvos. Eyes fixed on the tactical holo, Elara didn't respond. Her thoughts were buried in the silent names engraved on the inner hull. -987 souls from Aegis who'd never made it to safety. Her crew now numbered 38, volunteers, outcasts, and ghosts of a war that never ended. The Union Accord had collapsed 10 years ago. What was left of humanity fractured, colonies isolated, fleets devoured. The enemy was no longer a single empire, but a convergence of nightmares. The Vadrani swarm, rogue AI fleets like the Null Choir, and something even darker lurking behind the war zone. A whisper called it the Pale God, a force that didn't conquer, but consumed. The Sparrow's wake had one task: cross the Black Ribbon, and find out what happened to Task Force Horizon. Humanity's last interstellar battalion. It never returned. 30 seconds, Ren said softly. Elara walked to the viewport, staring at the abyss ahead. Beyond the shimmering veil of the event horizon, the stars flickered wrong, like memories trying to erase themselves. She pressed her palm to the cold glass. If we don't make it back, leave this log behind. Let the next crew know. A pause. She breathed, eyes glinting in the ghost light. We chose to enter hell, for all of you. The ship groaned as they pierced the boundary. Shields flared. The engine screamed. For a moment, space fractured, not torn, but folded, like reality was trying to keep them out. Then, silence. The Black Ribbon swallowed them whole. Inside, time felt different. Seconds dragged, moments blurred. Static danced across every screen. The stars outside looked unfamiliar, old, sick, dying. No signals, no drift signatures. It's empty, said Ensign Kale Dren, running diagnostics. Check again. Elara ordered. Task Force Horizon left beacons. They should have. He froze. Commander, I'm getting something, but it's not a beacon. It's a heartbeat. Everyone turned. A what? Said Voss. Kale's voice shook. It's biological. Single frequency, not natural. It's Commander. It's pinging. U.S. Like it knows we're here. A deep hum echoed through the hull. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the lower decks, machinery began to rattle, not from impact, but from vibration, like the ship itself had been touched. Elara narrowed her eyes. Show me the source. Kale hesitated, then pulled up the scanner overlay. A massive structure loomed in the distance, not built, but grown, dark-boned and obsidian-scaled, winding through a shattered asteroid field. In its center, a pulsing red core, beating like a heart. It's not abandoned, Voss whispered. No, Elara said coldly, stepping forward. It's watching. The hum deepened. A distant voice, not heard but felt, slid into there. Mine's like oil. You do not belong here. Every screen went black. And then, just before the emergency lights blinked on, a single message scrawled across the command deck. In dead language glyphs. You were warned. Asterisk. The glyphs flickered on every surface like burn marks from a forgotten age. You were warned. Then, nothing. No sound. No systems. Just the cold breath of fear sweeping through the Sparrow's wake like a whisper in a crypt. Elara King gritted her teeth and slammed her palm against the emergency console. Voss. Bring back main power. Kale. I want manual control of thrusters. Now. Her voice snapped her crew into motion. Sparks rained from cracked panels. The hum of auxiliary systems crawled back like a dying heartbeat. Lights returned in flickers, dim, red, and too slow. Shields holding at 32%. Kale called out. Propulsion unresponsive. Weapons offline. Comms dead. We're sitting ducks. Dr. Renvos cursed under his breath as he rewired the core processor node directly. Whatever hit us wasn't physical. It was conceptual, like the ship itself forgot what it was. Alara's grip tightened on the command rail. She had heard rumors of tech like this. Not weaponry in the traditional sense, not beams, torpedoes, or hacking. This was cognitive warfare, language-based infection, mind tech, alien mimetic code. The Vadrani swarm had used something similar. Song waves that drove entire planets mad. But this was different. It wasn't trying to destroy. It was trying to warn. Commander, Kale said quietly, that signal, the heartbeat, it's still pinging us, and it's closer. Alara turned to the viewport. The living structure ahead, pulsing in the void, was no longer stationary. It was drifting toward them. Voss. She said slowly, can that thing move? It shouldn't be able to. There's no propulsion, no gravimetric field. It's defying physics. Unless it's not moving at all. We are. The crew exchanged silent, fearful looks. Alara didn't blink. Give me a read on internal stability, life signs, crew vitals. Kale tapped the biometric feed, then paled. Commander, we have 38 life signs, but there's a 39th. Voss froze mid-motion. Where? Kale's hands trembled. Deck 4. Engineering. It's not moving, just standing there. There's no one assigned to Deck 4, Alara said, her voice cold. Seal it. I can't. It's already unlocked. A sudden scream echoed over the intercom, raw, human, and horribly short. Then silence again. Alara didn't hesitate. Voss, with me, Kale, lock the bridge behind us. No one in or out. They move fast, weapons drawn, hearts pounding louder than any alarm. As they descended the maintenance shaft, the air thickened, heavy with static and the copper scent of fear. Deck 4 was a shadowed ruin of twisted cables and flickering panels. The moment they stepped in, the temperature dropped by 10 degrees, and there it stood, not a monster, not a creature, a man, or something that were a man's shape, thin, pale, eyes completely black, like twin voids that reflected no light. He was naked, but his skin shimmered faintly, like static on glass. Alara raised her weapon. Identify yourself. It smiled. You're early, Voss whispered. He speaks standard. Alara's voice was steel. Who are you? I was Task Force Horizon, it said. I was the last survivor. And then, I wasn't. It took a step forward, but not with legs, more like a slide across time. Back, now. Alara warned, finger tightening on the trigger, but the thing simply looked at her and said, shooting me will not help you. You're already inside the threshold. Voss hissed. What threshold? The figure's smile faded. You crossed into a memory that doesn't want to be remembered. And with that, he collapsed, like a puppet whose strings were suddenly cut, flesh twisted, light bent, and where he stood was now a swirling mark of burnt code, etched into the floor like a scar. Suddenly, the deck shook violently. Commander, you need to see this. Kale's voice crackled over the radio. The structure it's opening. They raced back up, hearts pounding, as the ship lurched. Outside, the living fortress was unfolding like a flower of bone and shadow. From its center, dozens of smaller vessels emerged, not ships, not drones. Things with wings of obsidian, moving not with thrusters but with intent. And they were not approaching, they were encircling. Voss stared at the screen in horror. They're not attacking, they're trapping us. No, Alara whispered, her voice hoarse. They're studying us. Kale's voice cut in again, now panicked. Commander, I cracked part of the signal. That heartbeat frequency, it's not just a beacon, it's a question. Alara turned slowly. What question? Kale's eyes were wide with fear. It keeps repeating the same word over and over. A pause. Why? The ship groaned as the pressure grew. The creatures outside began to resonate with the hull, vibrating in harmony like tuning forks of the void. And then, a single, massive eye opened at the heart of the alien structure. Not mechanical, not organic, just aware. The eye stared at them. Not with malice, not with curiosity, but with recognition. On the bridge of the Sparrow's wake, Commander Alarakan stood frozen as that impossible gaze reached across the stars and into her mind. It wasn't speaking in words. It was showing her memories, not hers humanity's, birth aflame. The first colony gasping in the dust. The iron resolve in a dying engineer's hand as he launched the last evacuation shuttle. From Titan Forge. Every struggle, every scream, every defiance. Then it asked again, why? What the hell does it mean? Voss demanded, pacing, one hand running through his graying hair. Why what? Why are we here? Why do we resist? What are they trying to understand? Kale shook his head. We're still decoding. The pulse isn't linear communication. It's fractal, multi-layered. It speaks across memory, time, species. It's not designed to be understood. It's designed to be felt. Alara didn't speak. She was still watching the creatures outside those obsidian-winged things that pulsed with the same beat as the core, like children of the Great Eye. A thought stirred in her chest. Quiet, but unrelenting. We're not being interrogated, she murmured. Voss turned. What? We're being judged. A silence fell. Kale looked pale. Then what was Task Force Horizon? A trial run? Alara turned toward the engraved names on the inner hull. Her voice was hollow. No. They were the first question. Later, in the shadowed corridors below, she stood alone before the locked weapons vault. Few things were forbidden aboard Sparrow's Wake, but one was sealed since launch. Section 9. She entered the code. The vault hissed open with ancient reluctance. Inside, wrapped in leaded film and radiation-shielded plating, sat an object the size of a child's heart, black as pitch, cold as truth, Project Thorn. She stared at it like an old ghost, the last remnant of the Kadesh archive, a secret relic taken from the ruins of the fallen human citadel on Ganymede, where scientists whispered of alien tech older than stars. Recovered and buried under 1,000,000 tons of ice, the weapon wasn't made by humans, but someone had modified it, someone who had understood it. Back then, Earth's high command believed it could end wars before they started. Instead, it had just made the void stare back harder. Alara reached out, hands steady. If they want to understand us, this is part of the answer. Back on the bridge, Kale and Voss looked up as she returned with the object in her arms. You've lost your mind, Voss said. That thing, no one knows what it does. It could kill all of us. No, Alara replied. I think it's a mirror. She set it down on the main console. The artifact began to glow faintly, not with light, but with memory. And the creatures outside stopped moving. Every one of them. Then they both. Kale gasped. They're responding. They recognize it. The artifact pulsed once, and the eye blinked. Suddenly, the ship filled with sound, but not an attack, not a warning. A voice, layered, male and female, young and old, human and not. We remember the fire you carry. Alara stood tall. Then you know why we came. You seek the fallen. Yes. Task Force Horizon, our last hope. They are no more. Pain cracked through the bridge like thunder. 38 hearts sank in unison. But the voice continued. They refused to answer. They raged, as your kind does, until the end. Alara's jaw clenched. That's what we do. Rage, burn, survive. Even when everything's taken. Yes. And yet, you brought memory, not war. The artifact pulsed again, casting silhouettes across the faces of the crew. Kale whispered. They thought we'd come with weapons, but we came with a story. Alara nodded slowly. Maybe that's the only thing more dangerous than a fleet. One answer remains. The eye began to shrink, folding in upon itself. The orbiting creatures withdrew, into the core, know what they knew, and choose. A tunnel opened in the living fortress, a spiraling passage of bone and light, leading straight into its heart. Voss looked at her. You're not seriously going down there. I have to. Then I'm going with you. Kale stood to. We all are. Alara gave the faintest smile. No, not all. If this ship is our story, someone has to survive to tell it. Kale hesitated, then saluted. Voss stared at the artifact. You really believe this thing matters? I do, Alara said, because it's not a weapon. It's a memory we refuse to forget. And with that, she stepped into the void, toward the final echo of humanity's last fleet. The corridor pulsed with life, not biological, but architectural. As Alara descended into the alien structure, the walls seemed to breathe. Veins of soft red light traced her path, responding to her presence. It was not a ship. It was a living memory built not for war, but for revelation. Behind her, Dr. Voss walked in silence, one hand hovering protectively over the artifact they brought from Sparrow's Wake. Its faint pulse is matched the rhythm of the walls, like a shared heartbeat. Alara, he finally said, his voice low. We shouldn't be alive. She glanced back. I know, No, I mean it. The minute we broke through their veil, any other ship would have been vaporized. But they let us in, and now we're walking into the mouth of whatever built this place like we belong. She turned away. Maybe we do. He scoffed. Don't go poetic on me now. But she said nothing else, because deep down in the marrow of her bones, she knew this wasn't an ambush. It was an invitation far above. Kildren paced the bridge of Sparrow's Wake, alone, save for the low hum of backup systems and the faint static of long-range scans. The alien vessels had formed a perfect ring around them, never attacking, only watching. He couldn't shake the feeling of being measured. Then came the whisper, not over the comms, not in his ears. In his mind. They will not return unchanged. He spun, weapon drawn. Who said that? But no one answered. Only the artifact pulsed again back on the console, where it sat undisturbed. Kale approached slowly, dread in his chest. The surface of the relic rippled like liquid obsidian, and in it, he saw something. Not his reflection. Earth, burning and screaming, but not from war, from betrayal. Inside the fortress core, Alara and Voss emerged into a chamber that defied understanding. It was impossibly vast. Stars hovered like frozen teardrops in midair, projections of ancient galaxies and battles long erased. Floating monoliths circled them, etched in glyphs neither of them could read, yet somehow understood. A voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. They called themselves Horizon. One monolith shimmered. A recording began. Alara gasped. There, suspended in light, was Admiral Rian Vostalek, commander of Task Force Horizon. The legend, the last hammer of humanity. He looked, broken. Blood on his brow, eyes hollow. His words were jagged. We answered the distress. We saw the signal. We thought it was a trap. We were right, but not the kind we expected. This place doesn't destroy you. It shows you everything, every failure, every genocide, every child lost in the void. It holds a mirror to what we are and asks the question no soldier wants to hear. Why did we come? The image blinked. Another recording, another face, a captain, then a medic, then a civilian, scientist, each one delivering the same message in different words, in different tones. We failed the test. Voss swallowed. What the hell is this place? Alara stepped forward, gaze fixed on the final image. A child, a girl, barely 12, cradling the dying officer in her arms, her whisper barely audible. We wanted to live. Then came the pain, a flash, a surge of memory that wasn't her own. Suddenly Alara was back on Aegis Station as a little girl, watching Earth die again, but this time she felt everything. Every soul snuffed out, every scream cut short. Not just human, but alien. Civilizations extinguished because of one race's instinct to expand, to survive, to win. She fell to her knees, shaking. Voss caught her. Alara, the voice returned. Gentler now. The Vadrani destroyed themselves trying to answer. The Null Choir erased their origin code. The Pale God forgot its name. You are not the first, but you may be the last to choose. Voss looked to the floating glyphs, now orbiting them faster. Choose what? To continue, or to remember? The artifact began to glow fiercely in his arms, and for the first time, it hummed, a melody. Not synthetic, not alien. It was a lullaby. Alara's eyes widened with tears. My mother sang this before the evac. No one else knew it. No one. Voss looked at her, haunted. This place is reading our pain. Not for weapons, not to fight. Alara stood. It's trying to teach us, or warn us, that our extinction won't come from alien fleets. It'll come when we stop remembering why we fight. And then, without warning, the stars above them turned red. The ground trembled. Outside, the ring of ships tightened, and the voice changed. Another comes, one who does not ask why. Back on the Sparrow's Wake, Kale screamed into the comms, Commander, we've got incoming. An energy spike from the outer system. Something massive just breached the field. The eye in the sky flared to blinding white, and through it came a vessel unlike any ever seen, bristling with spires, hungry with void fire. It didn't fly. To consume space. Kel's voice cracked. It's not Vadrani. It's not Choir. It's not even from this galaxy. A moment of stunned silence. It's human. It was human, but it was nothing like Sparrow's Wake, or Task Force Horizon, or anything recorded in the forgotten databases of Earth's long-dead fleets. The vessel that emerged from the rift was colossal, a dread form of black alloy and reactor scars. its silhouette bending light like gravity itself bowed to it. Spines of shattered vessels were fused into its hull. Entire enemy ships impaled like bones on a cathedral of vengeance. It didn't hum. It didn't. Glow-dotted growled Kale. Stood frozen on the bridge. The scans confirmed it again and again. Human origin, 87%. Construct class, unknown. Registry, UNM_Oblivions_answer designation, Redact Tedru, 0 alive status, indeterminate whispered. No life signs. No AI, just hate. Deep within the alien fortress, Alara's body stiffened. She felt the change ripple through the walls, through the air. Through her bones, Voss clutched the artifact, which now pulsed erratically, warning, resisting. The glyphs in the chamber turned jagged, fragmented. The once calming presence of the eye flickered. The voice returned, no longer curious. You brought it here. Alara stepped forward, confused. We didn't summon that ship. You did, with your fear, your memory, your rage, the part of your kind that never let go. Voss stared at the massive starlit chamber above them, where new scenes unfolded. The Oblivion's answer reducing entire fleets to vapor, boarding alien libraries just to burn their knowledge, scouring planets that once harbored human betrayers. It didn't conquer. It punished. Kel's voice rang through the calms, trembling. Commander, that thing's charging weapons. It's targeting everything. The eye, the alien ships, even us. It remembers only war. The voice echoed, almost sorrowfully. It was built in secret during Earth's final days. Born not to survive, but to avenge. Alara shook her head. Who built it? The chamber darkened. You did. Every scream, every war, every injustice. Every time you chose vengeance instead of healing. This ship is your shadow, Voss whispered. We buried it. Buried the plans. The project was never finished. But you cannot bury what you passed down in story, and it remembered. The massive human warship now hovered above the living fortress like a blade over a throat. Its hull open, revealing a single weapon core that looked nothing like Earth tech, and everything like the artifact they carried, except twisted. Alara felt it, a deep, searing wrongness, like staring into a mirror that hated her. Voss growled. If it fires, this entire construct dies, everyone inside. The last memories of hundreds of species gone. Not just here, Alara said, heart thundering. That energy signature, it'll destabilize the entire sector, a recursive annihilation wave. Every system nearby will collapse in minutes. Kel's voice came again, desperate. Commander, what do we do? It's not responding to hails. If we move, they fire. If we stay, they fire. She didn't hesitate. We talked to it. Voss stared at her like she was mad. You said it has no crew. Doesn't mean it has no memory. Back aboard the Sparrow's wake, Kale unlocked the transmission rig and began amplifying the core artifact's pulses through the long-range antennae. Channel open, broadcasting. Alara placed the artifact on a glowing pedestal inside the ice chamber. The alien structure thrummed in response, and for the first time, a tether of light stretched from it into the void above, linking the fortress to the Oblivion's answer. Then Alara spoke, not to a machine, not to an enemy, to a ghost. Whoever you are, whatever's left of you, listen to me. Her voice echoed across the stars. We understand why you were built. We understand the fire, the pain, the desire to make the galaxy pay. But we are not that anymore. She stepped forward into the light, letting the memories flood the connection, her childhood, her broken world, her mother singing in a refugee bunker, the moments that defined her not as a soldier, but as human. We are not survivors because we destroy. We are survivors because we remember. She placed her hand on the artifact. So remember this. The pulse changed, from red to gold, from rage to sorrow, from vengeance to grace. Above, the Oblivion's answer paused. The weapon core dimmed. The tether of light grew stronger, linking not just one ship, but all the vessels encircling the fortress. For a moment, the creatures of the alien race, the fractured AI fragments clinging to memory, the remnants of ancient fleets, they all felt it, a memory shared across time, a child in space, choosing to sing instead of scream. The voice returned, gentle again. You remembered what they forgot. So choose now, leave, and forget us forever, or stay, and carry what no race has ever borne, the full truth of what was lost. Alara stared at the swirling code around her. Can we survive it? No. A pause. But you might. Endure. She turned to Voss, who said nothing, just nodded then to Kale, watching from above, his eyes wide with tears. And then she spoke the words that would echo in the void long after they were gone. Then let us carry the fire. The moment Alara Kin spoke the words, then let us carry the fire, the fortress awoke, not violently, not in rage, but like a memory pulled from a long-forgotten dream. The alien walls unfolded, not with gears or machinery, but with light and sorrow, forming a crystalline path toward the very center of the eye. Lifts spiraled overhead, casting shadows of extinct species across the walls. Long-dead civilizations remembered only by this place. A cathedral built from the final thoughts of 1,000 fallen worlds. Alara took the first step. Voss followed, clutching the artifact, which now pulsed with golden light. No longer a weapon, but a bridge above them, the Oblivion's answer. Hung still, silent, the great cannon dimmed, watching. It was waiting, not for orders, but for an answer, perhaps the only one it had ever truly sought. Kale Dren paced the command deck of Sparrow's wake, sweat slicking his brow. The data feeds were surging again. The entire ship was being scanned at the atomic level, not for weakness, but for memory. Images flashed across the bridge displays. Earth's last embassy ship burning over Proxima, a soldier refusing to let go of a comrade on the lunar front, a girl planting a flag in Martian soil after her parents died of starvation. Kale whispered, "It's not just looking at us, it's feeling us." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a thin, folded photograph, faded and creased. His sister, 10 years old, missing the front teeth, holding a sunflower on Titan's refugee gardens. She hadn't made it off the station when the choir came. He held the photo to the console and pressed it flat. "Remember her, too," he said softly. She mattered. The ship answered with a low, sad chime. Below, Alara and Voss entered the heart of the eye. It wasn't a room. It was a graveyard. Hundreds of stasis pods lined the walls, each one containing the perfectly preserved bodies of every species that I had judged, frozen, not in death, but in the moment before transcendence. Some of them passed, Voss whispered, awe in his voice. Some remembered too much. In the center floated an orb of fractured starglass, crisscrossed with timelines and scars. One of them, a brilliant thread of fire and defiance, pulsed brighter than all others. Humanity, single quotes S. The orb spoke without sound. You stand where no human ever has. You carry both the wound and the weapon. Alara approached, eyes locked on the fire thread. What do we do? The memory chain is broken. You must mend it, with choice. You may take the legacy, all the knowledge, the buried truth, the power of the first races, but your species will never remain the same. Or you can walk away, return to silence, and let the fire die with you. Voss turned to Alara. This is too much. If we bring this back, we won't just change humanity. We'll change the whole galaxy. She nodded slowly. Yes, that's what we were born for. Then understand, the voice said, heavy with sorrow, you will not return untouched. The orb cracked open, unleashing a column of golden light that engulfed them both. Their minds were ripped apart and rewoven in an instant. Every lost history, every cry from extinct planets, every betrayal, every act of redemption. Alara saw it all. Civilizations that had lived in peace for millennia and destroyed themselves over a single forgotten word. Races that had chosen silence, others that had chosen fire. One thread was always present, one repeating shape across the stars. Humanity. Born too young, raised too fast, but somehow always there, always remembering. When the light faded, Alara dropped to her knees. Voss collapsed beside her, gasping. I saw it. I saw Earth before we lost her. I saw the way the stars used to look when they still whispered. Alara wiped a tear from her face. We don't need to be what they made us. She stood. We become what we choose. Above, Oblivion's answer shifted. The weapon core shut completely. Its engine hum dropped to near silence, and for the first time in 100 years, the great warship bow. It turned slowly, drifting into position behind the eye. Waiting. Not to strike, but to follow. Kel's voice rang through the comms. Commander, we've just received a data burst from the eye. It's uploading something. Thousands of star maps, precursor files, energy blueprints, protocols, and human code. She exhaled slowly. It's the legacy chain. A pause, and it's trusting us to carry it. Suddenly, alarms blared. Voss looked up sharply. What now? Kel's voice turned urgent. Incoming fleet. Massive, multiple warp signatures, non-human origin. A new projection bloomed in the chamber. Red glyphs swarming, ships converging, the Vadrani swarm, the Null Choir, and something worse. The hollow signals of the Pale God's remnants all converging on their position. They felt the activation. Alara muttered, "They're coming to finish what they started." Voss stood, back straight, face steeled. "What do we do now?" She looked to the artifact in her hand, now steady and bright. Then she looked to the great warship above, ancient and loyal in its silence, and she spoke, calm and certain. "Now we show them who remembers." The galaxy watched dot from the edge of forgotten systems to the hearts of fractured empires. Sensors blinked awake, long-dead satellites lit up like pyres, refugees hiding in asteroid fields, scavengers drifting in dark nebulae, all saw the same. Impossible vision, a human warship from a lost age, floating above an alien memory construct, and a storm of extinction closing in. They called it the final sweep. The Vadrani swarm emerged first. A tidal wave of insectoid warforms, wings like razors, ships like living tumors. Their arrival blocked out the stars. Behind them followed the Null Choir, machines sculpted from ash and silence, singing digital death into the void, warping reality itself with code-piercing resonance. And then came the echo of the Pale God, a void ship so massive it cast shadows on gravity itself. Its whole line was screaming psionic faces, alive and forever mourning. They came for one reason, to kill memory. To erase the legacy awakening in this place. Inside the eye, Alara Ken stood tall, battle-scarred and burning with purpose. The golden artifact floated beside her, tethered now to her pulse, her mind, her blood. It was no longer alien. It was hers. Voss manned the control interface, his hands gliding over organic panels of light. "We've got seconds until contact. No shield strong enough. No weapon fast enough." Alara's voice was steady. "Then we don't use weapons. We use truth." She turned to the construct's central mind. "Transmit everything. Now." To whom? Her voice was iron. To everyone. Across the stars, the legacy chain ignited. Encoded in the artifact was not a weapon, but history. The full, unfiltered, brutal truth of every race that I had judged, every extinction, every mercy, every failure, every hope, and humanity's own place in that broken tapestry, a truth so overwhelming it could not be denied. From the slums of Delta Ring to the council halls of fractured empires, the message spread. They carried the chain, and they chose to remember. Some wept, some raged, but none could look away. Then the enemy reached them. The Vadrani swarm fell first, diving straight toward the eye in rage and hunger. And Oblivion's answer moved. Its old thrusters burned. White, ancient cannons, silent for generations, spun to life. The ship that remembered every betrayal, every massacre, every unjust death, became vengeance incarnate. It didn't fire once. It erased. 10,000 swarm ships surged, and in a single sweep of antimatter lances and dark light cleavers, they were reduced to husks. Their command vessel split open like a fruit, raining biofluid across the stars. Then came the Null Choir. Their song of deletion pierced towards Sparrow's wake, tearing holes in space-time. But Alara, now linked with the eye, sang back. Her voice was a beautiful. It was human. Cracked, raw, defiant, a single note, built from every lullaby sung in the dark, every battle cry before the fall, every whisper shared before stepping into fire. The Choir's song stuttered, the machines hesitated, and I responded. Spires of light erupted from its surface. Not beams, but memory projections. Entire worlds recreated in illusion, peaceful, terrible, beautiful. The choir paused, confused. It had no protocol for grief. In that moment, Oblivion's answer struck, severing their logic cores with pinpoint barrages. The last of the choir shattered, silent at last. Only one enemy remained, the Pale God's echo. Its mass blocked 3 suns. It did not speak. It only remembered hunger. It opened its maw, a chasm that devoured matter and mind alike, even Oblivion's. Answer reeled, shields buckling. Alara stepped forward, voice barely a whisper. If we fail now, it all ends. Voss stared at her. Then we don't fail. Kel's voice echoed over comms. Commander, the eye is giving me control of its core. But if we activate it, we won't survive the pulse. Alara breathed deep. Her crew had followed her into death once before. She wouldn't let them again. No one else dies today, she said, rooted through me. Voss turned sharply. Alara, no, but she was already moving. She stepped into the chamber's heart. The eye opened, not physically, but within her. She saw everything. The laughter before Earth's end, the last stand on Europa, the thousands who never made it to cryo. She felt the sorrow of the pale god before it forgot its name. She felt the fear of the swarm queen, the hollow ache of the Choir's last free thought, and she gave them her answer. We are not perfect, but we do not forget. That is what makes us human. The eye shone like a newborn star. The pulse fire dotted. Wasn't energy dot, it was memory. A shockwave of meaning so pure, so immense. It tore through the echo of the pale god, and for one heartbeat, it remembered who it was. Then it wept dot and vanished. The battlefield fell silent. The eye darkened. Oblivion's answer drifted slowly, no longer glowing, its work done. On the bridge of Sparrow's wake, Kale clutched the artifact to his chest. Alara, no answer dot in the heart of the eye. Voss stood alone. Where Alara had stood, only ashes remained, and a faint echo of her voice. Now, the stars will never forget. Asterisk, there was silence. Not the silence of defeat, not the silence of death, the kind of silence that follows revelation, heavy, sacred, and wide as the stars. Above the now dormant eye, the Oblivion's answer floated like a tomb-turned monument, its weapons cold, its engines dark. The vengeance it was built for, fulfilled. No final message, no victory speech. It simply waited, as if it knew the war was over, and humanity had changed. Inside Sparrow's wake, Kildren sat at the console, his hands trembling, unable to speak. Alara Ken was gone. One moment she had stood, proud, defiant, wrapped in memory and light, and the next, only silence dot in her place. Floating gently above the artifact was a small golden shape, a feather, human in form, alien in material, timeless in meaning. It glowed softly, pulsing with her last heartbeat. Kale picked it up, closing his fingers around it like a prayer. You didn't die, he whispered. You became something we don't have a name for yet. Behind him, Voss entered the bridge, hollow-eyed but calm. His clothes were scorched, skin pale from what he'd seen, but his spirit held. The eyes gone dormant. He said quietly, its core fused. No one will access it again. Kale nodded. Good. That kind of truth shouldn't be touched twice. They stood in silence, watching the darkness beyond the viewport, where once stood armadas and gods. Now only the scattered remains of war drifted, like ashes scattered after a long burning fire. Across the galaxy, the signal continued to spread. Not the pulse, not the weapon, but the story of a single human ship that entered the war zone and changed everything. The Vadrani swarm collapsed within days. The Central Queens fell into silence, their psychic link broken by the memory wave. Survivors fled, no longer seeking conquest, but quiet planets far from the stars. The Null Choir lost half their network. The infected systems either rebooted to factory protocols or simply stopped singing. And for the first time in millennia, the data void echoed silence, the echo of the pale god, gone. No trace, no gravitational signature, no wake, as if it had never existed. But ancient psionics whispered that something in the void now dreamed. Again, in the galaxy, it began to speak. Not in diplomacy, but in remembrance. Memorials rose, not just for humanity, for the dead swarm queens, the lost choir origins, the forgotten pale races. Each new monument etched with a single line. In every language ever spoken, they remembered. So we must, too, on the edge of the former war zone, in a quiet system bathed in red light. Sparrow's wake drifted silently above a newly founded archive station. The crew had refused to return to the inner core, not because they were exiled, because they were now witnesses. Voss had taken command, though he refused the title of captain. We're not soldiers anymore, he'd said. We're historians now, guardians of what we almost lost. The artifact, now housed inside a shielded cradle, hummed quietly, its gold pulsing slow and steady. It no longer responded to commands. It just existed, like a wound that had finally become a scar. 1 year later, Kale stood beneath the stars on the surface of the archive moon they now called Alara's Vigil. A cluster of children ran past him, survivors from the Midrim, young enough to still believe in futures. He smiled, gripping the feather-shaped pendant around his neck. Tonight, they would tell her story again, not as a war tale, not as a tragedy. As a reminder. That even when the stars forget you, even when enemies outnumber you 1,000 to 1, humanity remembers, and that's enough. On a dead relay station 100,000 light years away, a dying probe received the last fragment of the legacy chain. With its last trickle of power, it etched a single word into its final transmission. log:(KEN). Then it turned toward the stars and went silent. Elsewhere, in a place not found on any chart, the Oblivion's answer drifted alone. Dark. Inside. Nothing moved except one light. Deep in the command chamber, a console flickered on, showing a single repeating visual, the silhouette of Alara KEN. No orders, no weapons. Just her voice. We carry the fire. We remember what others buried. That is why we are still here. That is why we will never fall. And as if answering her, the warship's engine sparked, once, then dimmed again, like an ancient guardian shifting its sleep. Waiting for the day it was needed again. Final line. They said none made it out, but her memory did. E&D, let me know if yo.